everyone, and welcome to Get Celebritized. I'm your host, Aurea McGarry, and I have this show especially for those of you that want to learn how to earn more, live a big, vivacious, wonderful, juicy life, and be able to give back more to the people and causes that matter most to you. And with that, we tackle some amazing topics, and today is going to be a really good one that affects a lot of people and many times unknowingly. Today, we're going to be talking about how to recognizing the signs of long-term COVID and what your doctors may be missing. This is going to be such an instrumental conversation we're going to have because many people are walking around with signs and symptoms of things that are still there because of COVID they may have had 2 or 3 years ago. So I've got the most amazing 2 women coming in right now to talk about this. Dr. Kim Gibson, a committed leader and advocate, brings over 3 decades of experience in advancing disability rights, fostering diversity, and championing inclusion. And Veronica Atkins is coming on, and she has been a disability advocate for 17 years, initially supporting her son, who was diagnosed with dyslexia. Overseeing labels and promoting disability rights, she became disabled herself due to long-term COVID. Veronica Atkins shows advocates for the legal rights and financial empowerment for the disabled community. So you may be wondering, how do those two connect, the disabled community and long-term COVID? That's one thing they're going to explain right now. So let me bring them both up. They are waiting in the green room. Let's bring them up. Dr. Kim and Veronica, welcome.
Thank you so much.
My goodness, and being able to introduce you all properly is the challenge because you bring so much knowledge and information to the table. So, Veronica, I'm going to start right out with you. I know you had COVID, and you've been talking to me about the symptoms, the signs of long-term COVID. So, why don't you tell us in a nutshell, what are the symptoms of long-term COVID, and what are some of the most common misconceptions or misses that a doctor may be making to many patients out there that have the long-term COVID and they're not knowing it?
I'm so glad you asked, because one of the challenges that we face in the long COVID community is medical gaslighting. I experienced medical gaslighting actually for years of a lot of doctors making me feel like it's all in my head, and you know your body, you know. So for me, I've been battling this actually for a couple of years now. One of the main symptoms for us is brain fog, and it functions almost as if someone that has ADD or ADHD, but it's like worse. So for me, I would do things and still will do things from time to time where I'll just stare at a wall for a whole hour. And in my mind, I think I'm doing it for a couple of seconds. Unless something triggers me to snap out of it, I'll keep staring at it. And it's called, medically, it's called head in the clouds, which is part of brain fog.
So a lot of people have, I mean, I'm over 60. I get brain fog. You just think it's postmenopause or something like, oh, it's just aging. How does somebody know the difference between regular brain fog, whether it might be like we think of, oh no, it's early signs of dementia, or if it's from long-term COVID? You just mentioned you actually stare at the wall for an hour. Is that like when you know something is wrong?
That's one part of it where I knew something is off. It's also part of, you'll experience memory loss. Like I'll start cooking and I'll just stand there and forget I'm cooking. So for me, with my medical team, they were able to pinpoint it by doing an MRI and by seeing a neurologist.
What made you want to take it to the next step? Because again, you're just talking about my normal day. So I'm like, wait a minute. But you're saying it's different though, I think. Please elaborate more on I'm cooking. And you're saying you forget you're cooking. What I'm thinking what'll happen is I forget what I need next. We all walk into a room, forget why we're there. We all forget, oh my gosh, what was I doing? I need to get something done. That happens to me a million times a day. But you're saying you're standing there, you forget that you're cooking. So what's the differentiator between that and not having something to worry about?
You'll notice it because it'll be significantly different from after you got sick with the virus, basically. And so for me, I have an entire medical team. Dr. Tiffany Walker, Dr. Hahn, which is over with Embry and Grady, are part of my team, and I'm part of the long COVID study group. And for me, I noticed after I got sick, I just don't feel like myself. Like I thought, oh, maybe I'm just getting old. And I found out there's actually 15 million of us. So there literally are millions of long haulers around the world that are experiencing symptoms. Like originally it was diagnosed as dementia. And then as they researched me more and I did some cognitive testing, they realized they were able to pinpoint, no, this is part of COVID. What a lot of people don't realize is that there's nerves that are connected to our brains. And so when a lot of people say, I've lost my sense of my taste and my smell, and you regain that, they're thinking, oh, I regained it, so I'm fine. Well, no, those nerves are connected to your brain. And a lot of people are actually experiencing neurological damage from the virus and not realizing this because it was connected to those nerves. So I've had a lot of damage done to my cardiovascular system and my neurological system as well. I was diagnosed also with POTS. I would tell people when I went to the doctor's office, something's wrong with my heart, and they wouldn't listen. They would just kind of write it off as a panic attack and just send me on my way. Mm-hmm. And one thing I would tell people is listen to your body. You know your body. You know when something is off. Even if a doctor says everything is fine, listen to your body. And I knew this is not a panic attack. Something is wrong with my body. And luckily for me, I was persistent, and I was able to come across an amazing medical team that was able to do 2 EKGs back to back. One said abnormal, the next one said normal. And I remember having the cardiologist nurse say, I've had 3 patients complain of the same thing she's complaining about. Something's not right here. Yeah. And they were able to realize it was POTS. So
what is it called, POTS?
It's called POTS.
What does that stand for?
Because my brain fog, I can't think of what the stand for, what the abbreviation is. But anyone can research it. But basically, you're basically have like your heartbeat is irregular.
Okay.
So I would always tell people, if something doesn't feel right, if your heartbeat goes irregular, don't write it off as a panic attack. You definitely want to follow up with your cardiologist. And it's really hard for, not every cardiologist can pinpoint by looking at the EKG what's wrong. I have a specialist that I see at the Georgia clinic, and they are really, really good at being able to identify POTS versus another, cardiovascular diagnosis.
And that was caused from long-term COVID, is what you're saying?
Yes. So what I found was I had inflammation that was formed around my heart.
Interesting.
When I got sick. And so I've suffered from respiratory damage, cardiovascular damage, neurological damage. I also experienced depression and anxiety sometimes as well. Wow. Post-exertional malaise is one of the hardest because, like, after this conversation, I can get really tired to where I can't do anything for days.
Oh my gosh, Veronica, we're unpacking so much here. Again, I'm like, I had COVID twice, so I want to ask you one more question, then Dr. Kim, I want you to chime in on how you fit into this conversation. What is your contribution, like how you guys got together and what you want to share on this important conversation? But Veronica, let me ask you this question. Myself, I've had it twice. My family members had it once, sometimes twice. Did all this happen after one bout with COVID? Was it extremely bad battle with it? Was some people have very mild COVID, other people have a really extreme case of COVID. Mm-hmm. So does this normally happen after once or twice, or give us a little bit of the laydown? Because I don't want to scare everybody. Oh my gosh, you have brain fog, you have long-term COVID.
No, it's okay.
We want to get into the list of this is when you want to seek out help. So tell us if you have once, twice, a bad case.
I had it twice. I had the symptoms after the first time I got sick. It got worse the second time I got sick. Okay. Every patient is different, which is why I'm part of the study community with Emory and Grady right now, because every patient is different. Some patients can't even walk. Sometimes I'll grab things and I may drop it. Some people have motor skills. Some people can't read at all. Every patient is literally different. Not everybody has the same symptoms, but it did become a legal disability as of July 2021. And a lot of people do not realize that it is a legal disability if you're experiencing substantial limitations.
I didn't know that. So when you say disability, it's now registered as a disability.
Yes, if you experience substantial limitations. And so I would always tell people to refer to the American Disability Association, because there is a specific list that they do provide that explains what's considered a substantial limitation. And a lot of people qualify for a lot of benefits and resources that they don't even realize they qualify for.
Oh my gosh.
I'm passionate about financial empowerment.
That's big news. That's big news. Dr. Kim, chime in, because I know you're sitting there with such great knowledge. Like, okay, what say you? How does this, what do you want to let us know about this?
So I'll tell you twofold. I have long COVID myself. And the question
is it forever?
Yeah, once you have long COVID, it's a diagnosis. And so you asked Veronica kind of an interesting question. And for me, I got COVID and I had, it was pretty mild because I had the shots and my voice went away. That's where my big thing was my voice. And then about a month later, I got sick, just sick. That's when the long COVID showed up for me. And my doctor ended up sending me to a cardiologist. and I guess it's been almost 2 years that I had COVID, and I don't feel like my voice has ever came back. Like I feel like it's scratchy all the time. I have pain that comes down through here, and I do have an enlarged heart because of it on the top. So they monitor it every 6 months. Luckily, it hasn't changed from the initial onset, but it's something that now I have to deal with inflammation. For me, on a personal level, that means a lot. It also means on a widespread level for people with disabilities. I could tell a whole lot of stories. You know, my son's had COVID when it first started off, and then he's gone through all these traumatic things because of COVID, down to where he ended up having to have surgery for thoracic outlet syndrome because it enlarged different nerves, and so he had his first rib removed.
Wow.
And was a healthy runner, and
Oh my
stuff
gosh.
went from that to barely can lift his arm. So signs and symptoms just change.
So my question for you guys, because I got a million questions, and I know I'm like representing like my whole community, because I know so many people, including my family members, that have had it, and then you're just touching on so many nerves right now that I'm saying, oh my gosh, I've seen that, I've had that, or whatever. So without us being like in panic or thinking every symptom we have now is long-term COVID, what is the best way to know if a symptom that you're having, because maybe you had COVID like we had years ago, maybe we're forgetting, did I have this before? Is this just menopause? Is this just normal? What are some of the signs that we can know this is when I need to go see a doctor? And are the doctors, let me ask you this, being really good at that? If you, I know you're saying about gaslighting, I've been there, had that experience. When you go to a doctor, what do we need to say, especially as women, to have them take us seriously, to say, hey, I'd like to be checked. Is this what we say? We'd like to be checked for long-term COVID because I'm finding I'm just in a daze, or I'm finding I'm having heart palpitations. What do we say? What's our protocol to the first step if we're thinking maybe this is more than just menopause, or maybe this is more than just aging?
Yeah, I would honestly say speak to an expert. Dr. Tiffany Walker and Dr. Hahn over at Grady and with Emory are the doctors that I would refer because they're specialized in this. Because I could tell someone to go see your doctor, but to be completely honest, half of the doctors out here, even despite all their training, don't understand it. They can try to read up on all they want, but they have not really had enough experience with a lot of patients like, myself and Dr. Gibson that experiences this. It really takes communicating with a doctor that is experienced and identifying the difference and knowing what test to run. Because I've had doctors that will do an MRI and says, oh, your MRI is fine. Well, my MRI is going to be fine. It's not going to pick up on my brain fog. Right. So I've had to have my neurologist with Emory do other cognizant testing. So I would say speak to the doctors that are actually experienced with dealing with long haulers, so they can.
Can we put those links in the description? Do we have permission to do that?
I can ask Dr. Tiffany. Now, Dr. Tiffany Walker, Dr. Hahn, I can ask them. I'm just speaking so highly of them.
They take any more patients.
Yeah, but they're over. I mean, they're part of they're part of the long COVID clinic
at Emory.
Yeah, over at Emory and Grady. They're located at the Grady Hospital, downtown Atlanta.
Yes.
But I know Dr. Hahn has been saying they're trying to bring a lot of community awareness right now and community engagement, because there are so many people like this. It's a very lonely diagnosis.
I'm sure it is, and people are getting COVID again now. I already know several people that have it right as we speak. This is August of 2024, because people are watching this in replay. So it hasn't gone away. It just kind of got out of the news, but people still are getting it.
I think another thing is I know that my son and others have experienced where they see their physician and then they're referred. The common thing that's happening that I have seen and witnessed with our consumers and, like I said, my son, is, okay, something's going on with your head, so let's mentally send you to a psychiatrist or to a therapist to address, because it's a mental health concern. You're feeling like this is happening and it's not really. So my recommendation personally is that first, you seek your physician that you're going to, and if that's not an answer or you're not feeling comfortable, that you seek others, or you ask your physician for who deals with long COVID that you can refer me to. And if you don't have anyone, then, who do you know? And then seeking it out. Because it may not be long COVID and your physician may have to rule out other things first. And then, I was lucky enough, mine is Dr. I can't say his first name, and Dr. Singh, I can't pronounce it,
Right.
Dr. Singh, it's like, I feel like this may be long COVID, so I'm going to refer you to somebody that manages or knows more about that than me. So that's
could they? I know not everybody that watches the show obviously is not going to live near the Atlanta area. We've got people watching so many countries now, but we've got the power of Google. So, do you think it would be advantageous if somebody doesn't live near Grady? Could they, one, Google long COVID for a physician near them that specializes, or two, I do love how hospitals, because when I had cancer, we were able to call like the Moffitt Center in Tampa or the MD Anderson in Houston and get referrals, because they were a great resource to, here's where I live, who do you know, who do you recommend? So do you think Grady would do that, or what do you recommend if somebody wants to get a good referral in their neck of the woods?
There's long COVID clinics. Like I said, the one I know, there, even though if they're not in Atlanta, Dr. Hunter, Dr. Walker, or even Dr. Raul was my PCP with Emory. She's now specializing in experience with it. There's long COVID clinics that do exist.
So if they go to like their local hospitals, like their big, like Emory and Grady, we've got the bigger hospitals here, that they'd be referred. Because again, I'm so afraid of exactly what you said in the beginning, Veronica, was being gaslighted. Because so many times they think that, oh, it's just in your head, you're fine, just a little brain fog. Especially if you're an older woman, and I say older, over 40, they start thinking, oh, it's just, perimenopause. Or it's so easy to say that. And I was gaslighted when I had cancer, and I was only 38 years old, and I was having chest pains for a year. And 6 doctors told me, they looked at me, I was young, I was healthy, I was riding my bike every day, lived in Florida, nothing wrong with me. I had cancer growing all over my inside of my chest cavity, and all the doctors says, you're fine, don't be a hypochondriac. Until one doctor, a friend of the family, was a lung specialist. He goes, let's take an x-ray, let's take a blood test, just to be safe. And that's when they found the non-Hodgkin's. So I've been gaslighted, and it's no fun when you know something's wrong with your body and you just don't feel right, and then they start making you feel like you're a hypochondriac. I'd be dead if we didn't go one more step further and saw that 7th doctor.
Yeah.
Even the emergency room sent me home, said, how long have you had the chest pain? At that moment, it was 6 months. They said, well, this is obviously not life-threatening. Exact words. This is obviously not life-threatening. Don't you have a family doctor? At that moment, I'd already fired all the ones that were telling me I was fine. I needed somebody to tell me what's wrong. And they just kicked me out of the emergency room and said, you're fine. Really? I would have been dead like a year or two later.
So listen, you did the right thing. You listened to your body. You knew your body.
Exactly. So best advice for people then is to Google, call their doctor, call their hospital. What was some really good things that worked for you? All right, so now maybe you're thinking that something is wrong. Let's walk me through some good scenarios about what we need to do and what can happen if you do get diagnosed, the help that's available to you.
You fight for yourself, you fight for your family. I literally walked to an urgent care. I said, something's wrong with my heart. They went back to eating lunch, told me to have a seat. It's just a panic attack, and ignored me. No, I'm not. And I did it. I'm not leaving until you get me somebody. I had one doctor complained about his divorce. I don't have time for that. I would tell people, I don't care what I have complete respect for the healthcare industry. I've served in healthcare for 20 years. Fight for yourself and fight for your family. If your body says something is not right, something is not right. This amazing woman right next to me has been my angel, because the Disability Link is my support system.
Yeah, tell us about that. Tell us, what is this Disability Link? I have it up on the screen. What is that?
All right, so
here we go.
So Disability Link is a non-medical organization. They're all across, Centers for Independent Living are all across the United States. So what's really cool is you don't have to depend on like just Disability Link, but we're ran for and by people with disabilities. And that means that more than 50% of staff, board, and management are people with disabilities. And it came out of the Rehabilitation Act that says that people with disabilities are the experts in their own lives. So what happens is it provides the opportunity to provide peer support or lived experience and teach advocacy skills or different things like that. But also it gives a safe space that people with disabilities are the experts in their own lives, but also it's a norm. It's not that disabilities is abnormal. It's because it's society needs to be fixed for accessibility and equity. And so,
well, when you're saying, can you specify, because we talked about long COVID being a disability. So when you're saying disability, can you like mention some of the things that qualify for disability? Because I would have never thought long COVID or any kind of health issue would be considered disability. I'm thinking somebody's blind or somebody is in a wheelchair or, that type. So talk to us about what a disability is and what qualifies as a disability.
I can definitely answer that. So, and I'm so glad you asked this question because this is my passion right here. I'm trying to bring awareness to this. So, as I was mentioning earlier, the American Disability Association has a very specific list from psychiatric challenges to inability to walk. And I want to talk about inability to walk to make it very clear, especially for those of you watching that are handling the claims, because there are some days where I cannot walk and there are some days where I can walk, and that is because of post-exertional malaise. And I'm finding out, according to Dr. Raoul, there's not even an ICD-10 code right now for post-exertional malaise. And the reason that we cannot walk sometimes is because it's like our bodies feel like a car. When we talk and when we walk, it literally burns us out. And some days it could burn us out for hours. Some days it could burn us out for days. So some days I can't walk because my body is too lethargic to walk. So a lot of times we get diagnosed with like generalized muscle weakness is what they call it. I've had to go to physical therapy. I could make a YouTube video or an Instagram video showing me walking, but 2 hours later I can't walk at all because my body is tired because of post-exertional malaise. So inability to walk is one. It's listed for psychiatric challenges, depression, anxiety, neurological challenges, concentration challenges, memory loss. It's a very specific list that it gives for substantial limitations. And so if you meet those substantial limitations, that's where I found that it falls to the category of having a disability. And I'm so grateful that that law was passed because there's so many of us that look completely normal and we're not normal.
Is it just a law in Georgia, Veronica? Because we live here in Georgia, but is it nationwide or just Georgia?
Well, with people with disabilities, they do define disabilities into two kind of subcategories. There's significant disabilities which affect major life functioning, work activities, different things like that. And two different types of disabilities may lead you up to being a significant disability. And then there's another level kind of per se that's disabilities. And I feel like if you have a disability, it's a disability. So there's kind of a categorized thing, like mental health. We often think of mental health disabilities or intellectual developmental. There's sensory, which is your blind, your deafness, or hearing loss. There is physical disabilities. And so, sometimes even people don't think of diabetes as a disability, right? But it does affect some people in significant ways where they can't work, or it affects their walking or their hearing or their sight or their vision. So disabilities really is something that limits your ability to have equal access in the world, kind of maybe I hate to use the word limitation. It's just because people with disabilities, it's not like we're broken. We do things a little bit different, and sometimes beings having support in the world to be able to do those different things.
I love this. I love you have your website. So when somebody goes onto your website, disabilitylink.org, what are they going there for, and what will they find there?
So if you come to our page, you'll find all kinds of different programs we do, but Centers for Independent Living, and I say if you go into one Center for Independent Living, you go into one because we're supposed to be community-based and what the community looks for. So we do a bunch of different programs on LGBTQIAP++ disability. But one thing that remains constant with everybody across the border is using lived experience, doing peer support. Providing that peer support. You come in, I don't know how to manage the transportation system, and I'm not sure how to access it because I'm a wheelchair user. Well, somebody may not be a wheelchair user, but they have trouble because they're blind in navigating, but they can still share that same experience. So
or even panic attacks. I love that, Veronica, you were saying that can be even anxiety, but maybe they can't even stand at the bus station, or dyslexic where they can't read the schedule. So I love that you all are encompassing, we see disabilities, but now you're talking about disabilities we can't see. So, and like Veronica, you were saying, 1 minute you can walk and do a YouTube. What if you're standing at the bus station, all of a sudden you can't walk to get on the bus? So there's that fear of, can I even go to the bus station and wait for the bus? I might not be able to get on, then people aren't going to know how to help me. So I love you have that peer support that can walk us through what we need, because it's not just the displays we can see, it's these ones we can't see.
Exactly.
And then we do transition services. And when you think about transition services, automatically people think about coming from like a long-term institution. But we do things where we do support people back from long-term institutions in the community life. That means nursing homes, prisons, you know.
What about the military? That's a transition.
Military. And then also from high school into adult life. So it's both ways. And then independent living skills training. And so I always say we work ourselves out of a job kind of thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Consumers driven. So say somebody comes in and they're blind and they say, I want to be an airplane pilot. And we don't have to say, okay, you can't do that. We say, okay, let's look at items to see if you can qualify to be an airline pilot. And you teach that individual how to go about maybe keywords in Google so that they can look up, maybe looking at the colleges, because if they come back and say, you know, I can't be an airline pilot, they say I have to have 20/20 vision to do that, then you can say, well, what do you want to do? And they say, well, maybe I do want to be a teacher. And then I can say, well, now you have the skills that you know how to look at what that would be, so that they can go on and find that using
I love that. Instead of just saying no, it's you explore. Then they discover what they can or can't do and say, well, maybe I'll go this route. Instead of just saying, no, oh my gosh, dash those dreams. But let's say, okay, so let's go down this route. I love that way of thinking. What about, you're talking about transitioning. I mean, this has just become such a wider spectrum than I could have ever thought when you said disability link. Again, I'm just thinking, you know, disability without being able to walk or maybe see or hear, things like that. But this is so much bigger. What about transitioning from foster home, aging out of foster home? Because I know Tiffany Haddish was big with us over in Clubhouse when the COVID first hit. She was in all the rooms and she does these suitcases for the kids, gives them suitcases so because that's all they have when they leave. And she remembers aging out of the foster system with the plastic bag. And she goes, they deserve the confidence of walking out of there with their own suitcase. I mean, things we'd have never thought of. So is that, I don't want to say disability, but that's transitioning.
A criteria for us is you have to be a person with a disability. What's really cool is we don't need a stack of documents to prove that you have a disability. You come in and you let us know that you have a disability and what the disability is, and we flow with it and we work with you on that. So it may be that individuals are looking at housing options in the community from foster home. Usually if they're foster home and they're a young adult and they're in school, they're going to be working through an IEP, an individualized education plan, and be connected with us anyhow, some way or some form or format. We also, I really have to say this, we do a lot of advocacy and teaching of self-advocacy. So that's where Veronica really, she'll come in and she'll have, I really need this, you know, and we'll be like, great, you know, what kind of areas can we look at? And we brainstorm of how she would want to advocate with that by peer support, people that have gone through that kind of thing, so that, hey, this worked for me, it may or may not work for you, but it's important for us to teach those advocacy skills also. So
I love that. I love it. Another question of the hour is, how'd you all get together? How'd you meet? I mean, you long-term friends, or did you meet through this journey of long COVID?
I was actually at the one of our rallies. It was I think it was the American Disability Association rally, and I actually came across an amazing advocate and senator, and I was introduced by him to this amazing angel right here. And she does so much for this organization. The fact that you're giving not just support to the organization, but giving her an opportunity to speak means so much to me, Araya. God has blessed me with the most amazing people in my life. You being one, Ramona, of course, and then, Dr. Gibson. It's because of the genuine love and support that she gives. For me, there's a lot of people that serve the disability community, but they're not really passionate about it. They're just kind of doing it for show. And I can tell you that she definitely serves the community from her heart. And for a lot of us, I think for us within the disability community, at least for me, I sometimes get treated like a second-class citizen, or like I'm dumb, or I can't do this or that. And we're here, I feel like I'm loved. I feel like I'm not going by my label, just for like a family when you come here. And so it was so important to me that you gave us this opportunity to speak, because I want people that are diagnosed with disability to have a space where you feel loved, where you feel welcomed, where you can feel like you have the resources to get what you need, whether it be, utilities, or you just want to learn something. So I get frustrated, so I couldn't even figure out some of the basic things on my phone sometimes because of my brain fog. But I don't feel like I'm judged when I'm here because they have so many classes to provide things. So now I got my confidence back. So.
I love it. And you just made a point of get out there and networking. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know where your next collaboration is going to come from. And with that, I want you both to answer this question. What can we do as viewers, as listeners, to support and help you? What do you need? If you could tell us anything, educate us and tell us how we can best help you, what would you want us to know about and how best we can support you? Dr. Kim, why don't you go first?
Sure. Supporting financially is always a good thing. Sponsoring your local Center for Independent Living. Feel free to sponsor our Center for Independent Living. You can sponsor it that way. Also, let your legislators know how important it is to have a voice for people with disabilities out there through Centers for Independent Living. That's so important. Ask when you're getting ready to vote, what's the disability platform, so that you can know what is it that they want to protect the people with disabilities rights. And then, learn about your local Center for Independent Living. We invite people to be on our board. We invite people to refer people here. But again, we can't exist without funding. And so funding is so important nationwide as well as locally.
That's really important to know, because some people might just say, this is a great cause, I want to give to it. And being .org, hopefully they know that's it's a nonprofit. So I'm going to keep this link up, disabilitylink.org. It's nonprofit. So case in point, you can donate and just let them do what they do best and know you're giving to a great cause. You're helping a lot of people. So that's wonderful. Thank you for that. I wasn't even thinking about the donations. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we got to get the word out. So that's what I do. Let's get the word out. What else do you need? That was great. Well said, Dr. Kim. Veronica, what else can we do?
Yes, I would definitely say I would appreciate anyone that can show support to this organization by your donations. As she mentioned, I know the economy is a little tougher now on a lot of people, but I'm so appreciative for any amount of money that anybody can give to support this organization, because there's so many people with disabilities that can't even speak or really voice what they need. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that's where myself and Dr. Gibson, a lot of us can come in. We can speak and say what's needed, because a lot of people can't maybe speak and say what it is they need. They have to keep the lights on. We want to support them with able to get their education, but you got to have the rent paid. You got to be able to keep the lights on. You have to have food on the table. Absolutely. And that doesn't happen without all of the amazing viewers and all of those of you out there that are just as passionate about giving back, even if it's just, like I said, a few dollars. Anything you can give is very much appreciated. And Aurea, you are phenomenal for just giving us the opportunity to utilize your platform to have a voice.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. I promise God I'd be the voice for good news and nonprofits and help you have a voice, for sure. I love doing this. And with that, I know that, gosh, October comes and everybody's thinking about breast cancer awareness, as they should. I do a lot for that, even though my cancer was not breast cancer. I love supporting women, and that's, such a female cancer, although men can get it as well. It's also childhood cancer. It's also dyslexia month. It's a lot of months in October. Do you all have a special month, or when when do you do your big fundraiser? Because I'd love to have you all back on a month when you guys are having a big fundraiser, doing some big, because I love blitzing. Money will trickle in, people will give a little bit here and there when you're doing your normal day-to-day, but when you blitz something, say, this is the month. We have raised, not me, but I'm saying the world has raised so much money for breast cancer because October, we're all wearing pink and we got the pink ribbons and everybody knows about it. Then we've got the red nose for heart disease. It's that big push that people know about. We had the ice, I'm saying we again, the world had the ice bucket challenge for was Lou Garrett's, and that was going viral. When is the best time, or when do you do your big push, your big fundraisers, so we can make sure we jump in with gusto to help everyone? Because now that we talked about this in the very beginning of the show, realizing that disability is so much more than what we see on the outside, that the anxiety, the ADHD, so much more, like long COVID, all counts as disability. So thank you for that, for one thing. And how can we help? When's your big push? When's your big month? Do you have one? If not, we need to create one.
We normally do our annual fundraiser in April. We do several different things, like in September is our Doggy Day, where we bring awareness to service animals.
Doggy Day. Wait a minute. Okay, you have me again. Doggy Day. Yes, let's do it. Love service dogs. Love dogs. Oh my gosh. We're doing this. Oh, service dogs. Yes. Can't live without our service dog. Sorry, you got me on with service dog.
I personally have a service dog. He's not here with me today, but I personally have a service dog.
Oh, we've got to do a show about service dogs. Tell us where and when and what we can do.
So, in the end of September, we hold it downtown Decatur at the First Baptist Church there. We have vendor tables, we have voting tables so that people can register to vote. But most importantly, we try to educate on the different types of service dogs and what the differences between emotional support, canine dogs, different kinds of dogs, but really bring an awareness of how important service dogs are, all kinds of different sizes. So many times negative media gives out the impression that all these people are faking with these service dogs, when it's less than 1% of people faking a service dog.
I'm one that will say, if your dog brings you happiness and joy, and that helps you travel or get out the door, then it's a service dog, whether it has it has the jacket or not. Because people I hope they're realizing more and more how important mental health is and how important that is. I mean, I've seen people with service guinea pigs and service rabbits, and although there is probably a sector that maybe is abusing that part, saying, I'll just, making fun jokes about it. But it's a real thing, because it is, and I know you all could probably say this, it's a proven fact, I forgot where I got the fact from, but that petting animals actually is soothing and de-stressing. And it's not just me because I love them all, not just pet them all, but God put them in our lives for so many reasons. And one of them, He made many of them soft to pet because it does bring down our stress.
And so that's the emotional support dog. A service dog performs a specific task for a person with a disability. So emotional support and understanding the difference and understanding the need for whichever way.
There's service monkeys too. People have service monkeys that also do more. They have more dexterity with their hands. I mean, people would laugh at it, but I know people have had service monkeys that really open cabinets, get down dishes, and again, it's a thing. And God bless them for being able to, train them to be a service monkey that has an actual job to do. So this is what's the date? What did they watch before, after? What's the date? Because I want to read this.
I do believe it's September 30th.
Good. It's after my retreat. Because I'm having a retreat. Yes. All right. You make sure you link me in, because I'll make sure we advertise this, let people know. This is so good. We can't talk about disability without the wonderful world of what dogs can do for us and do for us. I mean, they're in the military. They are service dogs. They're our emotional support dogs. So I really am excited about that topic. So that's great. Yay. On that one. Dog is God spelled backwards for a reason.
Yes.
Exactly. Dogs and cats and everything. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so good. And Veronica, what say you? What do you want us most to know, and how can we best support this wonderful organization, this wonderful cause that I think we all probably have some form of anxiety or disability, after COVID, just because that whole thing was so emotional and took us away from so much, and all of our lives changed in so many ways, that I can see there's just a lot of long-term effects from it. So you guys must be bombarded.
Well, one thing I want to do is I want to start raising the confidence of anyone watching that has a diagnosed disability. I would like the bullying to stop. Oh. That's one thing I would like. I would like, it actually is a violation of our legal rights. So I would like especially to those of you that are maybe in school, our younger people dealing with disabilities, you are gifted. You are a superhero. You're not less than, you're not some second class citizen. You are gifted. And what I don't think a lot of people actually realize, I see so many mean bullying jokes about people with diagnosed disabilities not being that bright. Actually, many of us are at such an advanced level of intelligence. We're such quick problem solvers because of our brain moving so fast. Well, look at people that are bullying us, like, seriously. So I would say to ask people, stop judging a book by its cover. Yeah. We all are God's people. We all deserve to be loved. We all deserve to be treated with kindness. Be kind to people. I appreciate, of course, everyone that shows financial support or maybe volunteers. But I would also say, if you see someone with a diagnosed disability, be kind to them. We all deserve to be loved. And that's one of my main goals is to empower people legally to know their legal rights, but also to just stop the division and hope that we can all unite and know that we're all really one people, one human race. It's not you had the disability, so you're less than. We all are equal. We all deserve to be treated with respect and kindness.
Amen. Amen. Veronica, you just reminded me of something. Back when I was in school, many years, decades ago, but I remember I was in grammar school, and we had a girl in our class that we could visually see all of her like disabilities. And you said something about being smart. She was almost completely blind. She could barely talk. She was very slow. It was kind of like a really severe case of cerebral palsy, but I was so young, I don't remember what it was. She limped. Everything that you could see looked very different and very hard to get up the stairs and do it. But she had a really great personality. And when she was to us kids, very severely couldn't do the things we couldn't do, gym and all the things. She was brilliant. When you said they could be smart, oh my, she went on, she got better grades than I did. She got great grades. She went off to graduate from college, went to graduate school, and so now I know so much more than I did back in the 70s when you just see a disabled person come into your classroom. Oh, poor thing. Let's help her. Let's help her. She could help us. I mean, exactly. Oh my God, the brilliant. We didn't appreciate it back then. We just saw, she couldn't do this, and we only had stairs. It was like this 4-story mansion on Fifth Avenue. Went to Marymount at the time, and we just saw the disability as kids. I admit it. We just saw disability. But as we went on, and I heard about what she wanted to do and everything. Now you just said that, totally brought this whole flood of memories. Wow, I remember that. So smart, so brilliant. She had no disability at all. Her body didn't work like ours, but her brain was on point.
Yes, exactly.
She graduated college, and I didn't. So, ding, ding, ding. That was the people you're bullying in high school, the people you're going to be working for when you're.
Yes, exactly.
So true. So true. Oh my gosh, the strengths and the talents that we all have. Some it might be on the outside, easy to see. It's easy to see Beyonce's talent and Taylor Swift's talent. Oh wow! But the talents and those that we're not looking at, we're poo-pooing today, saying, "Oh, poor thing." Don't poor thing anyone. They could be a whole lot more successful than any one of us at any given time.
Exactly, you get it. Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. Oh my God, what you're doing is so incredible. What I thought would just be a conversation today about long COVID became so much more. And I hope it's opened people's eyes and opened people's heart to so many things that could be a disability. And not that just we're identifying it as a disability, but there is help. If you're having that extreme brain fog, it could be due to an illness, could be due to long COVID. There could be help out there. Let me ask you this question before we have to close up. Is there financial help out there? Because many people are out here today without health insurance. And they're thinking, if I find out that I'll never get insurance, or I don't have insurance, I can't get help, can't afford doctors. What say you for the millions of Americans and people all over the world also that don't have health insurance, things that I can't afford to be diagnosed, and then if I do, am I labeled and can never get insurance?
Did you want to speak on this?
Well, yeah, I'll just number one, that's an important point when you're thinking about voting and getting and advocating for affordable health care for all. and without pre-existing conditions. So that's really important. Using the healthcare marketplace is another thing to utilize. And then it depends on the different areas as far as what resources there are out there. You know, we do information referral, which was the last core service that I didn't mention, where we might refer people out to different clinics that may be available out there for them, and supporting them in maybe looking at what that means financially, or applying for Medicaid, or applying for the healthcare marketplace, or applying for.
And you help them with that, right? So if they're calling, think, wow, I couldn't afford a brain scan, or I couldn't afford a heart, EKG. I know there's people out there thinking this, because I work in the whole entrepreneur world, and a lot of the entrepreneurs, they're not insured. And they're thinking, well, how would I afford that? So can you be that first step so that you talk them through what could happen? And I know they'd be afraid to be labeled until we have something that says no pre-existing, that if they get diagnosed, is their life over? Like on paper for
right.
help?
So we can refer them to different things. We don't provide any financial support here, but we can provide individuals with resources in the community as much as we know. And sometimes just helping people look at that so that they can start looking for themselves. So that's why I said it's really important to check out your Centers for Independent Living. And you can find your Centers for Independent Living by going to ncil.org, and it'll say find your local Center for Independent Living, which is the National Council of Independent Living. But
NCIL?
NCIL.
Okay.
And that'll give you can click find your local Center for Independent Living, and it'll show you where that's
and
at.
Is everything confidential, like HIPAA clauses and all that? When people call in, they don't have to feel like if they mention this, because I know there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of stigma. Gosh, what if I do get diagnosed? What if I do have something? Is it confidential to talk to you to get the help and the resources?
Right. We don't disclose consumers' information to anybody.
Good. Say that nice and loud. They don't disclose it.
Without your permission.
That's great. That's really good to know, because I know people are afraid to even address at times, thinking maybe they won't be able to get a job or insurance later on or whatever. There's just there's a lot of people fall through the cracks, especially here in America. They're so afraid to step up. Either they can't afford to step up, or they're afraid if they do step up, they will never get insurance, or they'll be labeled. Just so much fear out there for that. So I'm just gonna again toot your horn, saying, first step, if you call or link into disabilitylink.org, great caring place to start the conversation with no repercussions. Nobody's shouting it out. It doesn't go on record. And ask all the questions that you may have about anything, because they'd be there to help walk you through next steps. And I believe we don't get through this life alone. We need help in every aspect of our life. And that's why people need people. It's really important. So you guys are such a wealth of information, and your heart is big as the moon, big as the sun. So I thank you for doing that. So in closing, Veronica, why don't you say in closing, what do you most want to close this segment with? I'm going to let you all have the microphone to do a closing statement for everybody watching.
Thank you so much. In closing, I want to first thank you, Aurea, and thank you, Dr. Gibson, for all that you do. Thank you, everyone that watches and supports Aurea's entire network and channel. She is absolutely phenomenal. Because she supports so many people outside of what you just see on TV. She supports so many people, and she's so genuine. So I would definitely say to support her. But I would tell people to know that you're not alone. Whether you have a disability or you don't have a disability, we all literally need one another to get through life, especially right now with the economy. We all need one another. And support is one of my top core values. I believe it's the top core value of one of this organization, which is why I love this organization so much. But just know that you're not alone. Yeah. You don't have to go through anything by yourself. And there's so many people in leadership right now that don't even have their own support system because they're so busy supporting everybody else. Yeah. So I would say self-care, take care of yourselves first, leaders, before you're serving the community and everyone else. But it's only going to make us all stronger. So I just say, let's all just get stronger together. I'm tired of division, whether you have a disability or not. I'm just all about love and unity, no matter your race, no matter your diagnosis. Don't let your diagnosis define you. And just be around people that will love you and support you, so that we could all just continue to grow together.
So well said, Veronica. So well said. And it doesn't, I know you're talking about voting. It doesn't matter with your red or blue. Vote from your heart. Vote what you need. And let's get things done. If everybody stops fighting, we get some more stuff done. You talk about the economy. I've been around several decades. And in every cycle and every year, it's always been economy. Economy's always been up or down, whatever. We can't control it. So make things happen, create your own destiny. And that's why I put together my retreats, Veronica and Dr. Kim, because we need to take self-care. We need to take that time to be together in person and be lifted up and just be able to brainstorm together and care for each other together, because we're all like on Zoom fatigue for sure. And we got to get together with like-minded people, because we get a lot of encouragement and a lot of power from that. You know, a lot more happens when we get sometimes we just need a hug. And I'll never be too well off or too successful and not need hugs.
Yes.
I love language. Yes. So yes, that's why I did that. Dr. Kim, what say you in a closing statement?
Okay, so I want to go back to a little bit of long COVID. I want people to remember COVID's still out there. That using protection is really helpful. Vaccinate if you can, because people like me, people and other people are susceptible to COVID, and it affects us for life. And so be mindful of that. And then I couldn't have said anything better than what Veronica said about you and this, and about being together as people with disabilities, with or without disabilities. And we're all here together, and it takes all of us to make a change.
Yes.
It really is. So well said. It takes a village. It doesn't take a village just to raise kids, to raise human beings.
Yes.
It never should be without a village. I mean, the Bible even says, do not forsake the fellowshipping of yourself together. There was a reason. God made us. He knows how we function, and it's better together. So find your community, find your people. And when you're in need like this, it's so good to know you all have created this, disabilitylink.org, because I would have never known there was this help out there if I didn't meet you, Veronica. So this is huge. This is really huge, something so needed. And it's really important to have that. Now, make sure I get that date for that Service Dog Day in September. And I'm going to have you back on right before April. So let's have you back on January, March, then April. I'm having a brain fuck. Oh my gosh. In March, so we can air this in March to promote your April fundraising and really give it a nice big blitz, because I love blitzes. I love letting people know about big things that are happening. But we'll put all that in the description. I hope people will support. I hope people will call you. And I love that you have a lot of free resources and free support and help, because that's what it's all about. Just getting that first step. Take that first step towards a better you, feeling better, and knowing you're not alone. Ladies, thank you so much for being on the show today. You blessed my heart for sure.
Thank you, Aurea. You're so amazing.
You guys are the amazing ones. You're doing the hard work. You're doing the heavy lifting. So thank you so much for being on Get Celebritized. We're talking about disabilitylink.org, help for all kinds of disability, which are so much deeper and things you can't even see than I ever have thought. Long COVID is a disability. So get with your doctor, get with disabilitylink.org, find out if maybe you're having some of those symptoms. Don't be afraid of them. Address them. If there's something your body is telling you and you're not getting answers, don't stop until you do get the answers, and call disabilitylink.org and they will help you. So thank you so much for all the help you do, ladies.
Thank you.
Until next time. This is Aurea McGarry signing off from Get Celebritized with Dr. Kim Gibson, Veronica Atkins from disabilitylink.org. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.